Hello there, design friends. It's good to see you again. Today we're going to take a look at rounded corners, but specifically how to scale and resize them in Adobe Illustrator. Now there's a specific method for this that works a little bit differently in Illustrator than it does for most other objects. So let's take a look and see how that works. So first we're going to grab our rectangle tool. That shortcut is M if you want to grab that fast. And now let's go ahead and drag out our square. Now I'm holding Shift in order to constrain those proportions and make sure it stays perfectly square. But you could also do this with a rectangle or really any shape that you want. Now let's go ahead and grab those white circles near the edge and make our rounded corners. All right, I think that's about where we want them to be. Now I'm kind of speed running these rounded corners, so if you'd like me to go slower, I do have another quick tip video on how these rounded corners work. So feel free to check that video out as well. Now let's see what happens when we try to scale this shape. But first I'm going to make a quick copy. So first I'll get our selection tool, which is the shortcut V. And now I'll just hold Alt on a PC or Option on a Mac. And you'll see the cursor change slightly. So now as I click and drag, it will create a copy of that shape that we just made. All right, perfect. Now let's see what happens when we grow or shrink our shape. Now hold Shift again in order to lock in those proportions as I click and drag, but look what happens as our object gets smaller. Now the corners are technically staying the same amount of roundness, but the shape is getting so small that the edges of those corners have actually touched, and they've actually made a perfect circle on accident instead of a square. Now I actually can't go any smaller than this now that those edges are all touching, so I'm clicking, I'm dragging, it's not going. That's because you can't possibly get any more rounded than a circle. So it's not going to get any more round than this. So what happens if we go in the opposite direction? Let's go ahead and click and drag and pull this out the other way. And we'll see the same thing. The rounded part of our corner stayed exactly the same compared to our overall shape. But since the overall size of our object increased, there's technically less rounding compared to the total size of our object, which makes it look a lot different compared to our original shape. So what if we actually want all of that to scale as we resize our shape? It's super easy to do, they just don't make it super obvious. I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that object, and I'm going to drag out another object, another copy. And again, that's holding down Alt or Option for a Mac. All right. So now we're going to go up here to our Properties tab. And if you don't see this, you can of course go up to Window, Properties to make it show up. And now we're going to look at these two options down at the bottom of this tab that say Scale Corners and Scale Strokes and Effects. Those are the two options that we're going to need. Now, if you don't see those here right away, don't freak out. Very likely the problem is just that you have something selected. So for example, if we go back over to our shape here and select it, and then look back at our Properties panel, those options are nowhere to be found. But as soon as we deselect it, either by clicking on our artboard or by just using the shortcut Shift-Control-A or Shift-Command-A on a Mac, you'll see those options immediately popped back up. So let's go ahead and click on both of those options. We have Scale Corners and we have Scale Strokes and Effects. And now let's try this again. We'll select our object, again with the selection tool or the V shortcut. And then again, holding the Shift key, let's drag it all the way down. And would you look at that? This time our rounded corners scaled proportionally with the object, as did the stroke. Now we can also go the other way, click and drag, again holding Shift. And we can drag it all the way up. And same thing. Those corners all remained proportional as we scaled our shape. No matter which way we did it, super small or super large, now it scales proportionally the entire time. Now I use this option all the time because this is generally how I want my objects to work. For my uses, it's not usually that helpful if the corners change as I scale them up or down. I usually want everything to remain exactly the same, just smaller or larger. So this is great for my workflow. It's pretty easy to work with. Really, the only trick is knowing that these options even exist or where to find them. Now, if you have any other questions about resizing shapes like this, go ahead and let me know down in the comments. Otherwise, if you'd like to see more quick tip videos just like this one, go ahead and subscribe. Otherwise, thank you so much for dropping by, and I'll see you next time.